wonderful idea. Tell us where you came up with this.
So it's been brewing for about really and truly my entire career, to be honest. Yeah. And I've worked, at various museums, over the last 11 years. I came home in 23, primarily because my mother and my aunt are aging and need
a lot
handlers.
Of that going around, right? Yeah.
And I worked at the Right for about 6 or 7 months. And while there, doing oral histories of so many of the older artists in the city, and doing those, having those conversations, would come up all the time. Kelli, can you help me catalog, or do you know anybody that can help me digitize? So by the time, 5, 6 people ask, I was like, huh.
There's an unmet need here, right?
There's something that, there's something here. And I said, I have a wide enough network nationally. I said, I think I can get it off the ground. And so I went to Neil and I was like, I love you dearly, right? But I'm
Neil at the museum, right?
Yeah, I said, I'm going to try to do this. And he was just like, okay. And so we are a little under, a year old.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but we're trudging along.
And the idea, of course, is to not just to archive, but I would imagine to commemorate and celebrate in some way all of this material that we've created here.
Yes.
I mean, there's something about Detroit and our history that I think distinguishes us in some ways from other places in terms of the people who are here and what they've done.
Yeah, very much so. The way I call it like a professional genealogy, so the way people like Dr. Cleety Taylor or, Marion Stevens went into the schools, and just created this demographic, like this critical mass of people who are also doing really well in the arts across the different mediums. And I kept getting questions, and requests.
Yeah.
Dr. Morgan, I'm looking up, this particular artist who was working in Detroit from, in 1957. And either the Right had a very small file, right, or no file at all, nothing at the Bentley, nothing at DIA. And then the more I talked to Miss Woodson and the more I talked to other artists, I was like, oh, the work or the archives, like the evidence, primary sources, right, are in these storage units, are in people's homes, which would make sense, because people are still alive. And so I said, well, how can, I create something that actually delineates that out, where people can actually trace these professional ancestors.
Right. What do you imagine is the end product here?
Sure.
Where does it live? And is it something that just ordinary people will be able to access?
Yes. So we're in the process of building a very robust website that will actually integrate the database. So anybody.
So you just be able to
we'll be able to search it. We do want a building. We're thinking of doing a capital campaign next year because I have my eye on a couple of buildings around the city.
That might work.
Because right now what we're doing is really taking our skill set and the framework, to people with archives.
Yes.
When we are contacted with people who have archives that aren't necessarily, in the proper storage space, and then I just kind of direct them to the right places that they can get it stored. But hopefully, it will be, a physical repository where people can actually come, and see the materials themselves.
I'm really curious about the interactions with the artists to try to help them organize these things, or maybe in some cases they are organized, I guess. But just that moment of discovery of the value and the importance of what they have, I think has got to be really cool.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah, they already know, right?
They super do, Stephen. They already know. A really good example I can use is actually our partner, Ali Wheeler and Alima Wheeler Trapp. They're the stewards of the Black Cannon.
Okay.
And they are the children of James Wheeler, who was an very well-known activist historian.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because they're totally aware, again, of how important the collection is. But there are certain things that, their dad had that they're just like, that's just junk. And I'm like, don't throw that away. Right? Because they're trying to refine it so that their kids, aren't kind of overwhelmed with it. They're like, we got to get this stuff in order. And I was like, don't throw that away. So there was like this old tobacco can, right, for instance. And Alima was just like, that's Dad's old sweet. That doesn't. And I was like, no, it gives people a sense, of like who he was. And she was just like, whatever, Kelly. And so it's so interesting to have those kinds of conversations, with in the Black Cannon case with descendants, but then there's we've been in conversation with Shirley Woodson and Sangor Reed, about some of Mrs. Woodson's archive. Actually, we were talking just yesterday, and Sangor was like, I got 4 boxes, just of photographs, and I said, we can digitize them.
Right.
Yeah. And I said, and we can, name it, in honor of his father, Edsa Reed, and people can just look through. Because a lot of times you see, like in the Black Cannon collection, the candid photography, which has been really cool.
Right.
Mr. Wheeler was an actor in Concept East.
Okay.
So there are, again, candid photographs of some of the performances with Dr. Wright's mobile museum, right there.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, it's like, it's so amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so Alima and I it's been slow because we have other things, but we're going to work on a show of that photography, to really explain, to your point earlier, how often Detroit artists were working, across genre, across medium.
And with each other, right?
Yes, in neighborhoods,
All of this came out of a community.
Right.
Not just individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch One Detroit, Thursday at 7:30 p.m. You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.